Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing, Dennis?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Ready to get after it. Did you do some driving for dollars yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Pretty good. I got a pretty good list.
Yeah. Were you
So,
using Deal Machine?
yeah,
Hell yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
I got that 7 days trial.
Okay, cool. Were you able to like do the drive and then you can like click the leads
Yeah,
off of-
yeah, it's pretty cool. After a couple hours, I figured it out. But
Yeah.
yeah,
How many did you end up getting?
I got like 50 yesterday.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
That's what's
hoping
up.
to do more today.
That's what's up. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, we'll let everybody hop in here. Hopefully we can get as many people as we can in here. I contacted everybody in the group, so we'll wait a few minutes. Hopefully we can get as many people as possible into here. But yeah, I'm excited to go over this with you guys. This is like the first thing that I ever learned um when it comes to real estate investing, wholesaling, talking to homeowners. Junior knows about this. We train this like at Middle America Homes, like the first thing that people, we figure out and we teach everybody. So get into it here in a second. I'll wait a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Junior, what up, bro? Who's iPhone? Why don't you put your name on there for me?
That is me. I'm surprised it still says iPhone.
Wait, no, I have yours as Junior Charles. I think there's somebody else in here too.
Oh, who's iPhone?
It says iPhone 8.
Huh.
Not sure, but it looks like we've got it's Con. All right, what's up, Con? Um, okay, so then I know that Anthony's not gonna come in. We got one, two, three, and then possibly four people coming in. What up, bro? Um, okay. So some of you guys may know this. I know that Dennis, you're pretty new to investing. But Junior knows this because we've taught it. Um, and I don't know, Khan, you may know this as well. But I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get into it. We're gonna get started. So the topic today is what makes a good lead. And this kind of goes along too, Junior, like with what you talked about the other day of like when to stop talking to a homeowner and like when to follow up correctly. Like that goes along with this as well. And you can kind of come back to it. If someone has lost any of the four pillars, that usually means, you don't want to follow up with them, right? So I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm also going to share this Word document with you guys once once we are once we're done with this. So the Word document will be shared, and I'll go ahead and get the recording on YouTube so that you guys can have the link to that as well. Um, but okay, so this is the first thing I learned in real estate when it comes to speaking to homeowners and making sure that the person that I'm speaking to is a good lead. It's somebody that, I can actually, put time towards and make it so that, it's worth my while to actually talk to this homeowner and try and make a deal work. Okay. So we call it the four pillars. Okay. And feel free, any of you guys, to like raise your hand or stop me at any time if you have any questions. But these are the four pillars to what makes a lead vetted or not vetted. Um, and I'll go into that here in a second. So vetted or not vetted. So if they're vetted, they meet all four of the four pillars right here. Okay. And the four pillars are this: situation and motivation, condition of the property, they have a timeline to sell within 30 to 90 days, and they have an asking price. If a lead meets all four of these criteria, then it's vetted. And that means that I would go ahead and pursue that, want to spend time and negotiate a deal with that person, right? And a lot of times, Junior, like you talked about this last week, when is it good to follow up with someone? When do you not do it? If someone has lost any of the four pillars, like let's say their motivation went away or their timeline was extended past 90 days, then it's probably not someone you want to spend as much time on, right? So I'm going to go into then the description for each pillar here. And then I'll also put, I have a note for whenever I'm speaking to a homeowner about what to write down. It's called our vetted card. So let's see if I can pull it up here for you guys, and I'll put it on the Word document as well. I'll get that in there. But as we go over this right now, just like in description of what each pillar is. So number one, we put these kind of in order too, of the most importance, right? So number one is situation and motivation. And Junior, this is going to be a lot of like just review for you. Just go over this again, but situation and motivation, this is the most crucial part of the four pillars. The situation normally goes along with the motivation. So for example, if the seller is 80 years old and very tired of renting properties, he's owned the property for over 30 years and the tenants are somewhat of a pain. So a lot of times in the situation, you will have the motivation as well. So this homeowner's owned this property for 30 years. They're a tired landlord. They don't want to have to deal with it. So that is the situation that is going on with the property, and it's the motivation, right? Does that make sense? You guys with me? And then going down, it is in order, right? So you want to, a lot of times, like we'll have the cold call script. I sent that to Dennis yesterday. You start with condition. A lot of times because that builds rapport, you're asking about the property, just gets the seller comfortable speaking with you. But this is also very straightforward. You want to know, have there been any recent repairs? And I like to talk about the main four, which is roof, windows, foundation, and utilities. In almost every scenario with properties that you're buying off market, you can assume cosmetic work, which is like floors, paint, and touch-ups, things of that nature. So you really want to figure out, when was the roof replaced? How old are the windows? How's the foundation of the property? Is it on a slab? Is it on a basement? Has there been any leaking? What are the utilities like? Is it, whole air HVAC? Is it window AC? How's the furnace? What's the water heater like? All those sort of things, right? Those are the bigger repairs that we want to know about, okay? And then timeline, this one is crucial as well, especially if you are wanting a wholesale deal, someone who wants to sell quickly. Normally, you want your lead to have a time frame and willingness to sell within 30 to 90 days. Anything longer than that is really not a lead that's worth continuing to qualify and talk with. It would be a follow-up, let's say, for like 3-4 weeks. But anything longer than that is someone you really wouldn't want to, continue to follow up and be with. And it's just a question on there, like how quickly were you hoping to sell your property? Like that's it. And they say, I'm hoping to sell within a month, within a few months. If they say anything longer, this goes along with the sales aspect of things. It's in the cold call script and things of that nature. It's like, what makes it so that you wouldn't be interested in selling now, let's say, right? Okay. You guys got any questions so far? Con, Dennis, Junior?
No, no question.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna share this with you guys. And when you're speaking to your homeowners, a lot of times, you will want to have like the note card, that'll have, let's say situation, price, timeline. motivation, all of that in there. So you can just see it every time you go back to speak to the homeowner. Okay. And then price, this is the last thing on the list, because it's the least important. And if they have enough motivation and if they're willing to sell within 30 to 90 days, the price should not be that big of an issue. You can, if I paid cash as is and closed within 30 days, what is the lowest amount you would be willing to accept for your property? Right. That's a really good question to ask a homeowner. Because as is, closed within 30 days, paid all the closing costs, what's the lowest amount you'd be willing to accept for your property? So that's the last thing on the list. Like I mentioned, if someone has their motivation, situation, time frame, and the condition of the property, price shouldn't be that big of an issue. You always want to offer 20 grand lower than what your maximum allowable offer is. And that's something that we'll go into on other calls, because there's a lot that goes into this. And this is the foundation, right? Okay, so those are the 4 pillars, and you want to make sure your leads have all 4 pillars to make sure that it makes sense for you to continue to follow up with them and talk to them. Does that make sense? So then you got situation, motivation, condition, timeline, and price. Okay. And then one other thing that I wanted to go over with you guys is priority. Okay. And this goes along with the motivation. And this is something that I learned also at Middle America Homes. Junior knows about this. But priority, we would mark leads in most cases, okay, with 1, 2, or 3. Okay, and what does that mean? Here, I'll go through it. Yeah, my Google Doc is not cooperating. Okay, so number 1, and this is how we would mark them, right? With a 1, 2, or a 3. So if a lead is marked as a number 1 priority, that is a need. Okay, they need to sell, right? Number 2 is a want. They want to sell their property. They don't need to. They could keep it if they wanted to, but they want to sell it. And then 3, this is would. Okay. They would sell their property, let's say, if they got this amount, or if the stars aligned and everything happened correctly, their daughter moved out of the property, and they were ready to sell. Like, that's a would. Okay. A lot of things need to happen. A lot of times would is if you give them, market value or higher. So I'll explain each of these as well. So this goes along with motivation. Okay. When you're speaking to homeowners and you're getting your leads coming in, whether it's for driving for dollars, or texting, or you're cold calling, or whatever it is to bring in your leads, let's say it's from Facebook, for sale by owners, whatever it is. And this is direct to seller, right? So need is someone that has to sell. Right. They're like, they have no other option. They must sell. There was a scenario in which I'm going to do the biggest deal that I've done personally with my company next week. It's going to close on the 17th. And this homeowner was a need, right? And when these needs come along, like these number 1 priority people, these are usually the deals that you can have home run deals on, where you're talking, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 on wholesale fees. And the reason for that is because, let me go over this scenario. So this homeowner, they had this property and it was fire damaged. They had, problems with insurance. They were trying to work through it, and it was coming up on this Saturday. They needed funds this past Saturday. They needed funds to be able to pay for the business that they own, like the lease that they had. And if they didn't pay it, they would have got kicked out and their business would have had to shut down. So she needed money to sell her property. And so we put under contract Thursday, closed on Friday. That's someone who's like, hey, I'm ready to sell right away. I don't care. I need to sell this thing, right? In another scenario, let's say someone's in pre-foreclosure. They have a probate where they want nothing to do with the property. They can't handle it right now. These type of scenarios where people are like, I don't give a crap what kind of price you give me. I just need to get this property out of my life, right? Does that make sense? So, example, needs money ASAP, cannot handle the stress anymore. We'll put, let's say, pre-foreclosure, closure, old and about to die. I know this sounds horrible, but it's just how it is, right? And it's really honestly like when Junior knows this too, when you really put together a deal with these people who are needs, it really is, satisfying at the end because they're very thankful for you being able to solve their problem. There was one in Indianapolis that I did where the homeowner was trying to sell for like 3 years. She had people trying to scam them. She had bad lawyers. We ended up buying it, and she wanted to move down south to actually be with her family for the past 3 years. And we were able to actually do that for her. And we did a interview with her. And she was so grateful for it. Like she was like, thank you so much for being able to do this. And she was in need, right? So those are the type of people that really we can help. Haven't been able to sell, tax sale, tax delinquent, horrible condition, etc., etc. Okay. So those are the needs. And when you see these come in, or when you talk to someone and you think they're in need, these are much less, prevalent than the threes and twos. Okay, so let's say you get 150 leads, and then it all depends where you get them from too. But let's just say overall 150 leads, 2 or 3 of those would possibly be a need, right? And that's where it comes in for you to be able to determine that, have good sales ability, be able to actually get, their motivation out, to figure out whether they're a need or not, right? But these needs are ones that, they will get you those crazy assignment fees, those amazing deals, right? Does that make sense? With me there? Um, and a lot of times too, like as you guys get along in your process of building your business and more leads come in, you will get more people who have a need to sell. And that comes with time. But they do come up if you're doing the work, right? If you're bringing leads in. Okay. Now let's go over number 2. So these are people that want to sell. So for example, it could be somebody who's like 60 years old and they've got 10 rental properties and they want to slowly sell their portfolio. Like they don't need to sell all of them right now. They're rented out well, but they want to sell one a year, right? That's someone who wants to sell. Or someone who, let's say, their family's growing, they're about to have another child, so they need another bedroom. They have to go ahead and buy another property, and they don't want to do work to their home and list it on the market, so they'd rather sell to an investor to have money for their next property. Like those are wants, right? It's not a dire need for them to sell their property. And also I want to say this as well. This goes along with motivation, right? This is very, very crucial, and this is why we put a lot of emphasis on this, because motivation takes precedence for everything else when you're speaking to homeowners. So for example, tired landlord wants to sell some of their portfolio, downsizing, upsizing, want a better house, Stopped renovations. Don't want to work on it. Don't want to list with an agent, et cetera, right? So you're going to get definitely more threes and ones. Now, as I go into a wood, these people I've never ever done a deal with, ever, especially when it comes to investing. If you're wanting off-market great deals, you don't work with woods. Okay, woods a lot of times they barely even work with agents. Okay, so a wood is someone who's like, yeah, I would sell if I got 250,000, if and their property's worth 150,000, right? They don't have really any motivation. It's someone who's lived in their property for 10 years and they enjoy living there. They don't want to move. They're like, well, I mean, if you gave me 300,000, I would sell it, right? Those people. Now, a would can turn into a want or a need. It all depends upon the situation and motivation. That's why situation and motivation is so important. You see what I'm saying? Because someone can be a would where they would sell if they got an amount, but a circumstance happens in their life. Let's say they get laid off of their job, they need money for some reason. They're moving immediately, they have to move for like their wife's family, whatever it is. Situations can change, motivation can change, but then it's not a would anymore. They turn into a want or a need. Does that make sense? You guys with me? So would, for example, if they got 100K over market, they would sell. If their family member moves out, they would sell, right? And the reason that we put, need, want, and would is because these are what people say a lot of times, right? If you ask them, what makes it so that you were interested in selling currently? Well, I would sell if I got the right amount. People say that a lot. Or they'll say, yeah, I want to sell some of my portfolio, right? Or they'll say, I need to sell it, right? So the 1, 2, and 3, when you're speaking to your homeowners, you can really tell which one it is by what they say, right? Does that make sense? So like on the want, it's wants to sell, wants a better home, doesn't want to list with an agent. On the would, it's I would sell if I got this amount. If this happens or this happens, I would do this, right? So those are the main things that I would say make it so a lead is a great lead for, a wholesale deal or an off-market cash purchase, right? And we can get into it later, but there's a lot of ways, like if someone has all 4 pillars and they're in need, but they've got, a mortgage that is adjustable rate, and their amount that they owe is higher than, what the property is worth, then you do creative finance. And that's something we can talk about if that comes about. But normally, like, let's say if you get all 4 pillars and someone is a want or a need, you can make a deal happen with them in most cases. So yeah, that's practically it. That's the foundation, right? For speaking to homeowners and getting deals under contract. Like if I'm cold calling someone, this goes along with the sales aspect as well. I'm searching for the 4 pillars and I want to know whether they're a 1, 2, or a 3. Okay. If they're a wood, I'll still put them into my system because I want to have as many leads as I can in my system. But I'm not going to continue to pursue them. If they're a 2 or a 1, then I know that I can probably put a deal together with them. Okay. So that's it. That's me and my rant and teaching for today. You guys have anything you want to talk about? Any questions on this in particular? Anything?
The fun thing about needs, I would say, is that how they're the ones that's most likely to come back. Like, let's say you've built a good relationship with them and you guys don't speak for like 2 weeks, a month, or something, you put them in follow up. There's a high chance they're going to call you back or hit you back up, like, okay, I'm ready. Is this offer still available? Stuff like that. And you're going to be able to put something together with them. As long as you have a great relationship with them, a need will always come back.
Yep.
It feels really good too. Always able to close a deal with them.
Yeah. You've seen that over and over, right? And
Right.
that's one thing as well. And like there's so many aspects to this that we'll go into. And that's why I want to like as we do our topic discussions, like do one thing at a time. Like this is the foundation, but you put a need into your CRM and you have a good CRM with a good follow-up system, like they'll come back. That's the whole idea. And you can do it through Google Sheets, Excel. You don't have to have a CRM. But I would say like for you, Dennis, let's say you're driving for dollars and you're speaking to homeowners, or if someone from one of your, let's say sticky notes or letters that you put calls you, then you're going to automatically want to assume that they're either a two or a one. Because someone who is a would wouldn't call you. You see what I'm saying? Right? If someone looks at a direct mail letter and they see your number and they take their phone out and call it, that means they're a two or a one. They want to sell or they need to. You see what I'm saying? So those ones that come into you are a little bit more motivated. But with that being said, Dennis, if you have homeowners you're speaking to, you want to keep some sort of notes on this homeowner. What is their, you can literally just take this and write notes underneath each one as you're speaking to the homeowner. Like what's going on with the property? What's their motivation? What's the condition? What's their timeline? What's their price? So then as you go back, you can go ahead and see what you put down for them. And me now, like I don't use the framework a lot of times, like on my notes, I just know what it is. But you can see, like I'll pull one of these up, and you'll see the notes that I'll put in my CRM for this homeowner. Like this is everything that I put here. And it's got the situation, the motivation, the timeline, the price, everything with this lead, right? So then when I go back and talk to this homeowner again, I know already what's going on with it. I know that she's probably I've got the priority here as a two. She's a want, she's motivated, follow-up status short term. So I don't want to go too in the weeds there. But this is how you go ahead and know what makes sense and why some people like they'll be in the wholesale space. I'm speaking to somebody, she's probably going to be in the group here soon. Her name's Tess. And she's trying to wholesale for 2 years and hasn't done a deal yet. And a lot of times people get to that point because they don't have this foundation. Like this is the foundation, right? If you want to do more deals and you want to do it consistently, this is crucial to be able to do that. Once these people, because you'll know then if someone doesn't have the 4 pillars, I just got to get more leads, right? Like someone doesn't have the 4 pillars, okay, I need to go get more leads. But then you'll know this person has 4 pillars and they've got some sort of motivation. I'm going to make a deal work with this person, right? Because if you don't have this knowledge for the foundation, you're going to miss deals first and foremost. And you're also going to spend time on people that aren't going to be deals in the first place, right? So this is crucial. And I would make sure you guys fully understand all of this here.
I was actually gonna say that the people you're most likely to waste your time on are the woods, especially when you're, like we call it, you've got commission breath or you're hungry for a deal, and they're like, yeah, I would sell. Right, that keyword right there is would, and then you start going through, and they're moving towards pleasure. So their situation or their motive's not even really big, and then they've got a high price, and 40 minutes when really it should have ended at like 14 minutes. You
Yeah.
know, you're most likely to waste your time on a wood if you're going through it, especially if you don't know how, if you don't know the pillars, you don't really understand the pillars, you're going to waste a lot of time on woods. Those woods, you have to push through them quickly and keep going through until you can find you a want or a need. A need is a shotgun. Bow. Once you land that, it's a steal. But you're gonna waste so much time on woods just based off, especially when you have the woods where they're bored, they're old, and they just want to yap away. You're gonna waste so much time on them. So you got to be able to get them out your system and get them
Yep.
out your land as quickly as possible. You
100%.
know.
Yep, exactly. And Dennis, I'm excited for you to know this now, because it's going to allow you to not waste time on homeowners, and you're going to get a deal a lot quicker. This is just very, very crucial information. And then when those needs come along, you'll figure out, like, you'll know. Once you do it long enough, you'll know. Like, there was one of my last deals at Middle America Homes. There was a homeowner that came in to our system from one of our cold callers. And they were living in Ohio, helping one of their family members in the hospital. And they had a property in Fort Wayne that was vacant, needed a ton of work. And they wanted nothing to do with it. And they needed money at the time. So they're out of state homeowner. And they had nothing to do with this property, and they just wanted to sell it. So we immediately agreed upon a price and then wholesaled it for 30K. Like, I got it under for, like, I think it was $10,000, and then we sold it for like 40, something like that. Those are those needs where it's like, let's put a deal together. Right. But yeah, I could talk about this forever. It's something that I just love. I love talking about it. I just like doing this is my favorite thing in the world. So, Dennis, Khan, you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, it's probably gonna go back to deal machine because there's a lot of properties that are corporate owned,
Yep.
and I've been trying not to focus on those. Like I would, just get past them and go for uh, the for the owners, like actual, like, oh, person owners. Uh, and then now this information is gonna help for, like, try not to try to waste as least time as possible, on leads that are probably not, not the best. So
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's something you can do in Deal Machine, which is really cool. You can filter those people out. Now, also too, though, Dennis, if you're driving for dollars and you see a property that is so dilapidated that it's like roofs caving in, gutters falling down, windows are broken, you're like, man, somebody hasn't been in this home for 4+ years. If that property is corporate owned, I still would pursue it, because that means that whoever that owns that corporation, whether they're a flipper or whoever it is, and they're not doing anything with the property at all. So I'd still, and you can actually on Deal Machine, sometimes it'll give you the corporate, like their number, what the LLC is, or you can go on opencorporates.com, and look up the LLC to find their number. Um, but yeah, especially one of the greatest things about driving for dollars is it's one of the key aspects for determining whether a good deal is a good deal or not. Like, if you see a home that looks like complete shit and someone hasn't lived there in a long time, that's a good indicator that it's probably a good lead for you. Which is why driving for dollars, if you have a lot of time, is one of the best ways to get your first deal. Because normally when you're starting out, you've got more time than money. So you want to spend that time in the best way possible, driving for dollars or sitting down and cold calling a lot. Um, so yeah, good question. Good question though. Yeah.
let me think of another one.
Con, you got anything, brother? Nope. Nope.
One
Nope. Okay.
one big thing that I would say to add to, everything you're saying with the P1s, P2s, and P3s and stuff is follow up. Follow up is huge,
Yep.
especially when you've got a even P2s, you want to follow up with them as much as possible. Like P3, P1s, because the need is so big, you just want to follow up with them ASAP. And sometimes you might do it too many times. Even with the P2s, you want to follow up. Like hypothetically, there was this lady here. The property was actually in Ohio. We closed on it last month. I spoke to her in July, August, September. I spoke to her in July. Went through the whole process and gave her an offer and everything. And my offer offended her. I offered her payoff, right? She got upset. I've got a friend that's in real estate already, and that offer's too low, and I'm just gonna go with her. Okay, cool. I could have at that moment just threw the lead away, but no, put her in follow up because I'm like, okay, we'll talk again. 3 weeks later, I gave her a call. Everything changed. Her mom ended up sick. She now has to take care of her mom. Her mom ended up with cancer, unfortunately. Has to take care of her mom. The friend that's in real estate, she's like, okay, she doesn't really know much, and I don't even have time to talk to her and stuff like that. And now she just wants to sell.
Wow.
And unfortunately, it wouldn't make sense as a cash deal anymore. So I was like, and she was going into foreclosure also, all within that 3 week period. And I was like, would you want us to take over your mortgage? And we put a deal together as a sub two. We made 10K on it. And that's literally because of following up. Like when you've got those P1s and P2s, like if someone tells you no, especially the first time, like take that with a grain of salt. Don't listen to them. Follow up, get
Yep.
back in touch with them until they tell you stop calling me or they tell you the property is sold. Because
Yep.
eventually, like you said, situations change to where someone could go from great, good to really bad within a few weeks. And when things like that change, you want to be the person to talk to them to help them out of that situation. You're not looking to leech off of them. You're looking to help them. Like, oh, you're going into foreclosure. I can fix that actually. You're 4K behind on payments. I can fix that, and still make it so that your credit is not destroyed in the process. So when it comes to like follow up with these people, like until they
Yep.
tell you stop or sold, don't stop following up with them. Plain and simple.
100%. Yep. That's like, yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, situations change and that changed their motivation. So somebody can have that come up where it's like, yeah, I have to sell now. I need to sell. My mom has cancer, blah, blah, blah. Like, I need to sell. Um, so yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, that's our topic discussion for Tuesday. I just posted the Google Doc in the community there. So if you want to have that, so that when you're talking to your leads, this is something that you can think about, think over. You have that there. And then I also will, once this recording, I'll get it posted on YouTube and then the link posted as well. So um, that's our first topic discussion. First one, real estate deal makers. There will be more people coming into the group here very soon. And there will be more people in these Zoom sessions, but you guys are the first ones and super excited for it. So,
I got one more question.
yep.
Um, if I ever come across that type of situation that uh, Junior had, where the person is in pre foreclosure state, how does that what's it called? Subject to how does it subject to work? Like how do you know when to go for the subject to or just go for the cash offer?
Well, Junior, since that was your deal, I'll let you kind of go over it with them.
So it's all about, I would say, equity in the home. For her, I knew it was gonna work because the home was worth around 200,000. Our offer couldn't be lower. She owed 135,000. Our offer couldn't be lower than that. So I offered her payoff initially, and I knew in the back of my head that that was a really tight deal, at least when it came to a cash offer, because we simply couldn't go lower than what her payoff was. But because the house is worth 200,000, she owes 135. There's a lot of room there to put something together when it comes to subject to, because what an investor is going to look for is they want to enter the deal with as little money as possible. If the house is worth 200,000 and they can enter it for 145,000, that's a win for them, right? Because they already have equity just starting off right there. She was back, she owed $4,000 initially. We are asking $10,000 in assignment. So that's a 14K entry fee. When you pay for everything and stuff like that, probably 15, 17K for that investor. That is a deal because there's equity in that deal, 200,000. So let's say hypothetically, she owed 180,000. There's no equity there. There's barely any equity to put something together. You could, man, potentially just pass that lead along to an investor, and if they close on it, they'll probably pay you 1,000 or 2,000, and you move on. But there's not enough equity for you to do an assignment, right? So it's all about equity, and the homeowner needs to be what Nick knows a lot about this too, because Nick taught me this an ideal seller. What an ideal seller is someone they're communicating with you, they're open with you, and they're not gonna backtrack, they're not gonna ghost or anything like that. If they're not ideal, you don't want to put complicated deals like that with them, not together with them, because they're just gonna cause process along the way. So I would say it's all about the numbers. If the property is worth 100,000 and the person owes 35,000, they're in pre-foreclosure, or they owe 40,000 and they're back $5,000, and you're going to charge that investor 10,000, okay, there needs to be room for that investor into the deal. If there is room, perfect. Don't try to make it a skinny deal. It's never worth it. You want there to be equity there. So if the person, my God, if the house is worth 400,000, it's trickier. If the person owes like 350,000, it's so much trickier as opposed to $100,000 home or $200,000 home. I'm not sure if there's anything else Nick would add to that, but it's all about the numbers. Don't try to make a deal somewhere where there's not a deal. If the seller's willing to work with you 100%, they're an ideal seller, and the numbers make sense, put it together because they need the help.
Yeah.
Put it together, assume their mortgage, figure out the interest rate, the loan payments, or how much they owe, and when is it due. And once you have those, put it together and try to get an investor to take it over for you for 5, 10. Man, you could even make 20,000 off of sub twos.
Yeah.
But I would say 10,000 sounds pretty good.
And also too, Dennis, this is the type of thing that it gets into the weeds a little bit more once you actually know the foundation, right? How to get these leads, the vetted, and how to talk to them, motivation. So I wouldn't worry nearly as much about this nitty gritty stuff right now, because first and foremost, what you need to focus on is getting leads in front of you, getting people that are interested in selling. Once you do that, and let's say this scenario comes up, that's what you're in this group for. That's when you ask us like, hey, I've got this deal and this, and this is going up. What should I do? Right. But first and foremost, like your whole goal and what I want you to focus on is getting motivated sellers, and speaking to them that they're interested in selling. Like, I don't give a fuck about what's going on with their property. Like if it's got, a mortgage that's too high, whatever it is, I just want you to be able to get these people who are motivated in front of you. You know what I'm saying? And then to figure out the deal from there, that's what we're here for you.
It makes sense. I just been hearing that that term a lot, the subject to. I just haven't been I just didn't
Yep.
did research on it yet. So that's why I kind of wanted to, what is how does it work and all that. But yeah, that's something that I probably should look out along the way. But yeah, you're right.
I appreciate
right now,
it's good that you're asking about it too. And that's one of those things that like it's really interesting. Like one of my good buddies, Luis, he bought his first property that way as subject to. So subject to, what that essentially says, and Pace Morby talks about this all the time, is you're buying the property subject to their existing mortgage, right? So whatever mortgage they have in place, you're assuming that mortgage. So I take over the debt that is on that mortgage. I take over the interest rate. I take over the payments that's on that mortgage. So you're essentially, the property is going to stay in that previous homeowner's name, but you are going to make the payments for them, right? And you put an agreement together in that aspect, and it's tricky. It's one of those things where it's a seasoned investor type of thing.
Mhm.
So that if that comes up, it's really good to have people around who have done that, like me, Junior. We've done all that sort of stuff in these Facebook groups, all of that. It's, you have to have certain, agreements in place that would make it make sense. But yes, so that is how a subject to works. So in scenario like Junior said, someone's property is worth 200K and they owe 180 and they need to sell like now. They bought their property last year and ultimately they have to move. That's where a subject to comes into play. And it's a whole different lead generation strategy too. Like you pull different lists for that. It's a different sector of real estate investing. And what we're focused on and what you're focused on, Dennis, is like we were talking about this yesterday, is getting those wholesale deals to get cash flow, right? To just do these quick wholesale deals. Subject to is not the best for wholesaling. It's not. It's just a lot. It's if you're willing and able to do that, but if you get, motivated sellers, we'll work to get you to wholesale it. So yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep, for sure. Man, that was good. Good discussion. All right, appreciate y'all, man. I'll get everything posted. Keep killing it. If you have any questions or anything, that's what this group is for. You guys have access to me and Dylan. So let's get after it. Have a good week, y'all. Peace.
Jeez.